Hello, twisted humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alecia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked. Welcome, listeners, to episode 65 again, part 2. Some more of this bullshit is what we're talking about.
And if you don't know what she's talking about, go back to 65 part 1.
Yeah, it's not going to make sense if you don't do that. But first, we want to talk about ourselves again. Specifically about some people who were super nice to us recently.
Yeah, they left us some super nice reviews.
They did. 5-star reviews. We have a review from Michelle, and it says, "Sticker anxiety is the best description I have ever heard. LOL, that's LOL, that's me exactly. Drawer full of stickers. I've been listening backwards, obviously, but loving every minute of it. These girls are hilarious and do such great research. They really dig in to their stories and don't spare any details." Thank you so much, Michelle.
I'm going to have a whole compilation from this last part.
You're going to have a compilation including you saying compilation.
We can't speak English. And this is Michelle from a new podcast called Sips of Crime. And they've been very supportive to us and loving all of our content. And
we're same. Sticker anxiety.
Yeah, we're same. Yeah. Sticker anxiety. It's a specific club. You know who you are.
Yes.
If you put your stickers on sticker paper like Sierra so you can take them off at some point.
Mm-hmm. We have another review from Leo Lilith, and it says, "Twisted Human here. Love this podcast. Yay! You guys together make light in this twisted world."
That's like literally the greatest compliment we've ever been given.
We 3 heart you too, Lilith.
Wait, who's the 3?
She wrote 3 hearts emojis.
Oh, I was like...
Yeah, I said we 3 heart you.
I was like, there's 2 of us, Sierra. What are you talking about?
No, 3 heart is a thing.
Yes, we 3 hearts.
3 heart you. And then the final one from Sipping Snapped. It says, "Good flow and info. You two are great together. Very informative and easy to listen to. Keep it up." We plan to.
Well, we love rhymes and puns also, so thank you for the good flow and info, because...
Yes. So, obviously, we will read your review on the podcast whenever you send it in, but
at some point, we get bad sometimes. Right. We apologize.
We get backlogged. But the reason we specifically brought it up, what words am I inventing? The reason we brought it up right now is because we also want to offer a incentive, if you will.
Yeah.
So we have right now about 20-something reviews on Apple Podcasts. If we can get to 50 by the time Alecia comes to visit me,
and this is just Apple Podcasts, but if you can leave reviews other places, we really appreciate that.
If your friends have iPhones and you've already left a review, steal their phone and write a review on theirs.
If you're one of those lovely people that rated us on Spotify or left us a review on Podchaser, steal their phone.
Right. It's fine. If we can get up to 50 reviews on Apple by the time Alecia comes to visit me in person,
which will be between August and September.
Or October.
Or October. We'll give you a confirmed date every
We'll figure
episode.
It out.
We'll remind you. Yeah. Because this is fun.
We are going to do the water bottle swinging from the fan video that you've seen a million times on TikTok. Yeah. We're
going to embarrass the shit out of ourselves for your entertainment. Funny. They are really funny. And it's honestly like, it's dumb girl shit that we would probably do. But we know you want to see it, so we're going to film it for your enjoyment.
Right. If you want to see this happen,
you gotta go leave a
steal
review.
A whole bunch of phones and leave some reviews.
like consensually steal phones.
Listen, go into Walmart where all of the Apple section is and leave a review on each one. You know?
Just don't get in trouble on our behalf. Somebody's getting arrested because...
You're allowed to view them.
Twisted and Uncorked told me to leave a review, and so they told me to steal a phone, and yeah.
I didn't say steal the phone.
You said steal a whole bunch of phones. You said, no, not from Walmart.
Not
from your friends.
From your friends, yes. Have a party. Make it a party where there's no pictures allowed. Make them put their phone in a bucket before they can come in. Send them in and leave reviews on all the phones.
Only friends that have iPhones are allowed to come.
Yes. That's the rule.
Or tablets, or, like iPads. Yeah, you're allowed to come if you have an iPad, too.
You don't get to see us being hit in the face with water bottles. So,
but in all seriousness, you can leave reviews anywhere, and we really appreciate it. It helps others find us. And you'll also get to see this nonsense when we inevitably reach the school. But if you can't steal from your friends, it still helps us. But yes, this is an Apple Podcast challenge because 86% of our listeners are listening on Apple Podcasts. We're looking at all of you, even though you can't see us looking at you.
Yeah, we are, though.
Yeah. We really appreciate it. So go do that, and you'll get an embarrassing video in a few months.
So do you have a fun fact for today?
I do have a fun fact, and it's extra funny because this is extra dark. Because we're on our serial killer episodes. So my fun fact is that platypuses... Is it platypusi? If it's plural? I don't know.
I think it's platypi.
Platypi? Maybe? Okay, so No, it says platypuses. Okay, no, I'm right. Platypuses don't have nipples.
Oh? They don't have milk then?
They are mammals that lay eggs. So they're specifically unique in the animal kingdom. They only live in Australia. And they look like a cross between a beaver and a duck, if anyone has never seen one.
Google has a thing where I can meet one in real life.
What? Excuse me?
I'm going to put one in my room and see how big they are.
What are you talking about? How are you putting a platypus in your room? I'm going to keep reading while you explain
Oh, they're actually really small.
What are you talking about? What is happening? Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, Sierra has abandoned the mission and she is playing on her phone. Are you going to send me a screenshot at least? What? What?
You see him?
Sorry, I'm yelling into the
swimming
microphone.
around in my clothes.
Excuse me? He's so cute. What is this function on your phone?
It's Google.
Is it only for Apple?
I don't
know. Can I put an elephant in my room? Can you put an elephant in your room real quick? Come on, do it for me, please.
I don't think an elephant will fit.
I don't care, please. Can you put a baby elephant? Oh my god. I don't think I can do this.
Hang on. Let me try it. Anyway,
I want to meet a life-size elephants. They have no yeah. I know, this has been a tangent. Nobody's here anymore. Or they're all off finding animals on their phone now that you've taught them this function. Yes. But female platypuses have mammary glands, but they don't have nipples. So after babies, quote unquote, hatch from their eggs, the mama platypus sweats the milk out of her abdomen where it pools in the creases of her skin for the puggles, which is the name of baby platypuses, or platypup.
It's funny that they're named
It's gross as hell, kind of, but they don't have nipples, so I guess you do what you gotta do.
My old dog was a pug and a beagle mix, and they called him a puggle.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not
a platypup, just to be clear.
No, that's actually really disgusting. I don't understand. Like, they're just licking their mom.
Yeah,
that's super gross.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not gross. I'm just saying
I don't like it.
Platypuses are the only mammals that don't have nipples. So do with that what you will. Also, Let me see your cocktail. Oh no, tell me your fun fact first.
Okay, my fun fact is there are 8 billion, it's a big number, ways to arrange a deck of cards. And so by that
Is that
big
a
number...
real number, or is that something you made up?
No, that was something I just made up.
Okay.
It's 80, comma, 65 more zeros. Which I specifically wanted to save for this episode because it's episode 65. Haha.
Haha. I don't know what number
80
that is.
with 65 zeros. I don't think it's a real number.
I'm upset
80,
by that. That gives me
goes all the way to
anxiety.
here.
Unless it's in dollars, I don't want it.
Yeah, ways to rearrange a deck of cards.
That
means there are more ways to arrange a deck of cards than there are atoms on Earth.
No. Sorry.
And somehow people can, like, count cards and win fucking...
blackjack.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
How? I don't understand it.
If you are a listener of ours and you know how to count cards, we would love to have you on the show to pick your brain. Nothing to do with our show. Strictly for our own benefit because we're confused by you and we appreciate your brain. So contact us if you are that person. We may not have that listener, but I am curious.
Also, don't do illegal things to win money, but if you win a random amount of money, you can totally buy us a beer.
Don't be a dick. I feel like we need to make a shirt that says "Don't be a dick." That would be a fun shirt.
Probably.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a
and
dick.
we'll have a deck of cards on it if you come on the show. That'll be the shirt dedicated to you. Okay. Come.
Don't be a deck.
Oh my god, because we love puns. Oh my god, that's so funny. Okay, I'm leaving that in because that's amazing. Anyways, I don't know how to cope with this, and we are, spoiler alert, Twisted Humans, we are recording both episodes of this monster in one sitting, so if we're extra slap happy, that is why. But Sierra, what's our sangria?
It's a super simple one. It is the wine plus a sparkling lemonade plus lime and mint, and it's
So simple,
good.
and it's so good. I didn't have fresh lime, so I had to do lime juice, but I have mint from my garden in there because I finally planted my herbs. And for my lemonade, I'm going booze on booze, and I am drinking Tempo's Gin Smash Citron Mint cocktail.
There you go. It's like a mojito, but sangria.
It's delicious.
Mojito sangria. Yeah, it is good.
Sangrito.
Mojigra.
I was trying to figure out that version, and I couldn't, so I went straight to Sangrito. Why are we like this? I don't know. People listen to the show. We see the downloads. Thank you.
Before we get into our second half of this serial killer, we do have to just shout out one more time and let you listen to Kevin from the Jury Room talk about his new podcast called Addicted. Be right back. When we left off last week, Alecia had told us about John Robinson's upbringing. His family, a few business scams, and the disappearances of Paula Godfrey, Lisa Stassi, Catherine Clampett, and Beverly Bonner. All of these women John had met in person. They were down on their luck or on love, and he promised to give them a better life. He completely took advantage of them.
Like an asshole.
When people are conned, they are often embarrassed and don't report the crime. Unfortunately, this was the case for many of John Robinson's victims. He managed to gain the trust of many of his online girlfriends and had them send their savings to whatever business he had convinced them to invest in. And then he would just disappear. There were a few instances of school funds and retirement savings, and it just made us so sad.
Like, he took this from these people. That's all they had. That's awful.
Right. When he did hydrogrow back in the 80s, one man wasn't able to pay any hospital bills for his ailing wife after investing, being convinced that the company would take off and change his life for the better.
What the fuck, John Robinson?
What the fuck? Many of the women that he would meet in the BDSM community wouldn't report him because they were embarrassed. So many had signed the slave master contract that he made up, and often he took explicit photos of them that he held over their heads. When the internet became more popular and accessible in the late 1900s, this gave John Robinson a whole other pool of women to con in online chat rooms from all over the world. During one of his online chats, he met Sheila Faith and managed to woo her just through his emails.
Ick.
Debbie Faith was diagnosed with cerebral palsy at an early age and needed a motorized wheelchair to get around. Her mother, Sheila, was amazing and took the best care of her that she could, along with Debbie's father, John. Unfortunately, in 1991, her father died of cancer, leaving Debbie to care for their child alone. At the time, they were living in Southern California, but after his death, they wanted to have a fresh start.
Makes sense.
Oh, for sure. Mostly they survived on Social Security payments, which totaled just over $1,000 a month, and food stamps.
Wow.
It was always a struggle between care for her daughter and being able to make enough money for her medical bills. Debbie had braces on both her arms and very much relied on her chair and her mother. When she was a teenager, she was diagnosed with spina bifida as well. In spite of her illness, Debbie was always happy and positive. She also had a really good sense of humor.
No.
She would try and race other people in chairs and laughed often. She really enjoyed country western music as well. It is. She seems like just
a delight.
Yes. Delight is exactly the word. Her pain never left her bitter. She was determined to win the fight against her disease. One of her doctors believed that she may be able to walk one day, and Debbie was more determined than ever. She really wanted to be a PE teacher and help others with their health and fitness. She wanted to work with children who were disabled and work with children who were deaf. She was extremely ambitious and wanted to help others in similar situations as herself.
Get it, Debbie. My neighbors are apparently moving upstairs, if you're wondering what I'm doing. Either a chair or a body is being dragged, I'm not sure.
Oh, it's fine. It's probably a body.
Cheers. And jinx.
In 1993, the two were finally able to relocate to Watsonville, just outside of San Francisco.
We love Watson, too.
Sheila tried to cope with the loneliness of losing her husband through personal ads in the paper and visiting online chat rooms. She desperately wanted to love again, and she needed someone to share the financial and emotional weights that came with raising a child with a disability. In San Francisco, two men that Sheila had dated ended up being married, and so with that, their new home and their new plans were short-lived. They moved to Pueblo, California for yet another fresh start, and finally, Sheila had a connection with a man. Even though it was long distance, they chatted often. He lived in Kansas City, Missouri, running a few successful businesses, and she told friends and family that he was a successful farmer and his name was John. She dreamed of one day seeing the horses he owned and the beautiful property he described to her. John was confident that this could happen and that they could start living their lives together.
And I definitely just made this connection now from our research that her widowed husband, his name was John too. So I'm sure to a certain extent she was probably like, this is like a sign.
A comfort thing, yeah.
She loves a John, yeah.
Yeah. He promised that he would help Sheila get Debbie into a more expensive school that specialized in working with children who were disabled, and that he would help with some of the medical expenses that had been pulling up, blah, 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 that had been piling up on Sheila. This was the love and the situation that Sheila so badly needed and wanted. She also felt that it was right. She also felt that it was best for her and her daughter. She really did believe that John was a good man.
He's not.
A year later, their relationship had reached an all-time high, and in 1994, Sheila and Debbie packed up their old vehicle with whatever would fit, and they left the rest behind.
Like, you gotta put all of your eggs literally in one basket for that.
In one man.
Ew. I don't like that visual.
Sheila asked her neighbors to keep an eye on the mail for her, which included the $1,016 a month disability check, and then the two were off to meet John. It was not long after Sheila and Debbie left that those checks started being forwarded to a Kansas address, the very same mailroom in Olathe that Beverly Bonner's alimony checks were going to. Coincidence?
So weird.
I think not. The mailbox was rented to a James Turner, but the owner of the mailroom would later conclude that James had the exact description that John Robinson had. Go figure.
So weird.
In all,
James Turner, a.k.a. Beverly Bonner's boyfriend, a.k.a. John Robinson.
In all, John picked up 152 of Sheila and Debbie's disability checks since they had gone to meet him in 1994, totaling more than $80,000. Not long after Debbie and Sheila had left, Sheila's brother started to receive typed letters from his sister with her signature at the bottom.
A John Robinson signature, really.
Ugh. They said how well she and Debbie were doing and how happy they were.
I was extra attached to them because they're like a mother-daughter team. She's literally struggling to provide for her child that has a disability that's outside of her control, and it's like...
It's the worst.
Hate this man.
All right, so we're going to skip forward and talk about Isabella Lewicka, who was born in Poland in 1979. Her parents were scientists, and she had a younger sister. In 1993, when Isabella was 14, her family obtained permanent visas to the United States, and they moved to escape the communist regime.
That's an age to move to another country.
Yeah.
Damn. That's like the age where you're trying to figure out who you are. Everything sucks.
Yeah, everything does suck. They moved to West Lafayette, Indiana. Her father took a job in physics at Purdue University, and her mother took a position as a research assistant. They seem very, very intelligent.
I'm glad you said the name of that town in Indiana, because I wrote it.
Lafayette.
How the fuck do you say that?
Isabella was extremely gifted in the arts. She loved painting, pottery, and fashion. And as she grew up, she found who she was. She had rebellious instincts that weren't totally accepted by her family, and they wanted her to follow in their footsteps job-wise.
I get it. Old school European.
Yes. She wore lots of velvet dresses, mostly black. She was petite with long dark hair. She wore a ton of silver jewelry, and her nose was pierced.
That's us in high school, basically.
Yes. Actually, when I was in high school, I got my tongue pierced because nobody else had it yet. And I was like, I want to be the same as anybody.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
When she started,
your septum pierced, right?
I got this done like 2 years ago. Like
really?
Right before.
That's so new. Holy shit. I thought you've had that forever. No. Look at me. I learn something new every day.
Yeah. When she started at Purdue University, she met other people on campus with similar interests and befriended a girl named Jennifer Hayes. The two women learned very quickly that they shared interests in art, theater, paganism, Gothic lifestyles, and the sexual world of bondage and discipline.
I feel like that took a very different turn all of a sudden, but do you.
I mean, yeah, do what you want, girl. On occasion, they even went to Chicago to explore BDSM dungeons and playrooms.
Get it?
Other than knowing they were both going to these places, the two never knew very much about what assignments each other were given, like from in the BDSM world, because everything is pretty confidential and just between the master and the submissive, them being the submissives.
Mm-hmm.
More and more, Isabella
and we're not kink shaming. Like, the BDSM community is, like, very much respectful of each other. There's always a master or a dom and a submissive agreement. Everything is, like, where there's pain, there's pleasure. Like, that's very much... But what John Robinson liked was not that. It was not consensual. It was not caring. It was not anything of the sort. But he claimed that when he entered these BDSM communities, and he targeted women that kind of liked that, so.
Yeah.
Rude.
More and more, Isabella used the internet to explore BDSM chat rooms and connect with others online. When she met John Robinson, everything seemed to fall into place. He was into the same sexual practices she was. He was established and kind, and offered her a job working as a secretary at one of his businesses so that she could focus on just pursuing her art. You know,
at least she wasn't selling anything this time, Sierra.
Right. Okay, just a secretary. That's fine. In 1999, Isabella packed her car, told her family and Jennifer about how excited she was to start this new life of her own, and she left. Despite how much they had all pleaded with her not to.
If I told you that I was leaving to, like, go and be with this random man, would you also tell me not to go?
Well, it's 2022.
I mean, I wouldn't
no one
now,
does that,
but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Like, Jennifer seems like a good friend. Like, I'm just like,
Yeah. Isabella's parents felt it was their strict ways that may have sent their daughter away in the first place, and they exchanged a few emails, but didn't want to overwhelm her. When they didn't hear from her for a few weeks, they thought she was just getting settled into her new home and her new job, but then weeks turned into months, and they were extremely worried.
Aww.
Weirdly, another woman whom John was talking to that went by the screen name Lorelei. Okay.
Get it? Gossip Girl's name. I like it.
Gilmore Girls.
Oh my god.
What did I
said Gossip Girls. You're welcome.
Gigi, whatever. Recalled later John telling her about wanting to make sure that people were who they presented themselves online. He told her about a young girl from Purdue University that had left out her gothic aesthetic and that he found it off-putting. As the head of a company, he couldn't be seen with someone like that, and he had sent her back to Indiana shortly after she came out to be with him. We now know that the young goth girl was Isabella.
What the fuck?
What an asshole.
Yeah, sorry, sir. You're not who you say you are online, so.
Yeah.
Also, like, that was 1999. Like, that's so scary. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
I know we were only, like, 7, but still. The internet was very new when Sierra and I were using it when we were in high school, 13, 14, 15. Like, it's there's still parts of the internet that have never been explored, that have never been monitored. Like, it's actually kind of terrifying.
It is. It really is. In 1996, John Robinson met Suzette Troughton in an online chat room.
Suzette was a cute name.
I know. Suzette was not married, but looking for romance and companionship. She had always dreamt of being a nurse, but needed more training and education. She had previously worked at a nursing home helping the elderly, and she had a kind heart. She worked part-time in the big boy restaurants her mother managed, and they were very close. Despite that, she held so much of who she was close to her chest. When she clocked out of the restaurant, she logged into cyberspace and was able to be who she really wanted to be. Suzette was very insecure about her weight, so chatting with men online was the easiest way for her to make connections. She agreed to meet up with John Robinson and travel? Wow, who am I? I feel like
full-blown Alabama came out just now.
Was it Alabama or was it Wisconsin? You said Drop Dead Gorgeous, and I was just like, I'm from the Midwest. Anyway.
I love it.
She agreed to meet up with John Robinson and travel to Kansas. He had offered her a job and a better life.
We've heard this before.
So many fucking times. She hasn't. We have. She desperately wanted this for herself, so she packed up everything, her 2 dogs, and she left. She told her mother about this plan, told her that she loved her, and that she would call her as soon as she was settled. Not long after this, letters started to arrive at her mother Carol's home. They were typed with her daughter's signature at the bottom.
John Robinson classic.
In the letters, she mentioned that she had given her dogs to a new home and that she was really looking forward to starting a new life with her new beau. Immediately, alarm bells went off. Carol knew how much Suzette loved her dogs. They were like her children, and she would never give them away. The letters also contained misspellings of their names multiple times, and her mother knew these could not be from her daughter.
So it's not even like an accident, like you spelled it wrong once, you spelled it wrong every time.
He just doesn't know how to fucking spell it. She reported the letters and the last known correspondence that she had had with her daughter to the authorities. The police were able to track down the family that had adopted Suzette's dogs and told them that a man had dropped them off, not Suzette. At least they're alive, but fuck.
I know, and you know what's funny is, like, we've talked about serial killers so many times on the show, and it's so weird how they find what they're willing and not willing to do. Like Israel Keys, like, he always said that he would never hurt dogs. That's why when he picked families, they never had dogs. John Robinson very well could have killed these dogs, but instead he went out of his way to drop them off with somebody else. Like, it's just, I can never understand the psychology behind somebody like that. And that's what makes them so interesting to study, but it's like, what? Like, you went out of your way to take these dogs somewhere else.
Honestly,
I'm happy he did, because animals for the win, but, like, what?
Yeah, I'm starting to think that maybe liking animals more than people might be a psychopathic trait. Are you okay?
Oh my God, Sierra! You can't say that after I accused you of moving for being a serial killer. We're both serial killers, let's face it.
Apparently.
Spoiler alert, guys. I am okay. I just love animals. They can't advocate for themselves, and people can.
Not all people can. The police also found that Suzette had rented a storage locker in her name and that all of her stuff was inside. John Robinson also had a storage locker at this facility. Suspicions had already been building around John with his growing rap sheet of fraud, false businesses, theft, and his connections to all of the fucking missing women. Carol had tried to call the number of the address that Suzette had given her after getting fed up with not hearing from her daughter.
Aww.
Suzette gave this number against John's wishes, but her and her mom were really close, and she was dropping everything for him, so she figured it would be okay.
Yeah, so convenient that he says that. Like, don't tell anyone.
When Carol called, she did not hear her daughter's voice on the other line, but instead, John Robinson answered and let her know that Suzette had actually rejected him when they met in person, and instead, she ran off with a man named Jim Turner. Oh, really?
Oh,
Jim,
really?
a.k.a. James Turner, huh?
Yeah, maybe. Jim is short for James, right?
It is.
Fucking
somehow.
Asshole. I know. It's like Dick Richard. We don't understand.
Yes. It doesn't make sense, but whatever. This is the white man way. Carol didn't buy it and threatened to call the police if he didn't tell her where her daughter was. This scared the shit out of him, as it had already thrown him off that she had his number in the first place and called.
Look, I'm not a mom, but if somebody hurt my baby and I was like, this doesn't sit right, like, I would literally kill you. Like, there's
If
no...
someone, yeah. If someone
Like,
wasn't giving
Sierra
me the
is
information I
Mama
needed
Bear.
about my
Like,
kids,
come on.
Yeah.
You're in trouble.
Look, I've been
Just
really
gotta
close
Google it.
already.
Yeah. It's upsetting for whoever hurts her children, which is hopefully never.
Also, I apologize in advance to all teachers my children ever have, because whenever my kids tell me that there's a problem, I go straight to the teacher like, you better fix this shit. You know? It's happened. Because Suzette was online a lot, she made quite a few friends that she talked to often. But none of them had heard from her since she ran off to Kansas to be with John. They also reported this to the police.
So
One of the
friends.
One of the women went by Lore Remington and told investigators.
What a name.
Yeah, seriously. She told investigators that she had seen John in the BDSM chat rooms since Suzette left and has been propositioning everyone, including her at times, probably looking for a new victim.
What an asshole.
She offered to go undercover and strike up a conversation with him to see if she could get him to slip up or if he would also invite her to Kansas.
Yes, Lore. Get it.
Yes. Is Lore short for Lorelai?
I don't know. It's her screen name.
Yeah.
But one girl went by Lorelai, so... I mean, maybe it was like a Gilmore Girls world up in here. Early 2000s, when did Gilmore Girls come out?
2001.
Then nothing to do with Gilmore Girls, which is a bummer.
Maybe, what's her name? Why can't I think of it? Oh my god. Amy Sherman Palladino knew about these girls and was like, I'm going to name my girls after these girls.
That's true. Maybe.
Laura brought up Suzette and how she had seen her in the chat rooms before and asked if she and John knew each other. John immediately logged in as Suzette and tried to play himself off as her. So he tried to pretend to be her.
Family those letters right after you felt threatened.
Right.
Like, he's like way too quick on the game. I hate it.
Yes, he was trying to be Suzette and talked about how great John was and that he was an excellent master and Lore should come out to visit them.
No, Lore, no.
Suzette and Lore had been friends for a long time, and she knew it was not her friend she was talking to. Investigators knew that this would be a long process, but they were willing to do it in order to stop him.
Maybe because they let him go off on parole for so long.
Meanwhile, they were also tracking the other women he was talking to and where he was putting them up in hotels and suites all over. The internet allowed him to con and hurt so many more people, but investigators were gearing up to take him down.
That's terrifying. He's expanding because of the
Seriously.
internet. I hate it.
A task force was formed, and they brought in Stephen Hames, the same probation officer from Part 1 that had been saying over and over again that John was dangerous. They were finally ready to listen.
Maybe like 10 years too late, but whatever.
The task force started to keep a strict eye on John. They had people pose as neighbors where he lived. They had the garbage company specifically pick up his trash first in the morning so that police could go through it for anything incriminating. And they had fake line workers working on the power lines outside his home. People tailed him. His phone was tapped. Balls to the walls over here.
Get it.
Again, we really encourage that you check out John Douglas's book because the way they broke this down is amazing. Keep in mind that the internet was still so new and they had a serial killer that had moved to working out of chat rooms. It's honestly very fascinating, and we would have to do a whole
terrifying
other episode just on the investigation. But we don't want to spoil the whole book, so just go and read it.
You know, Sierra and I are book lovers. We love to use
Yes.
books for our cases, but we don't want to give you everything so that you don't read it, because these authors do a lot of hard work. And, like, come on, Mindhunter. So.
In the meantime, John had convinced 2 other women to fly out to Kansas to be with him, and he had put them up in a long-stay hotel. Police officers were stationed in rooms on either side of where these women were staying and heard some horrific shit. John would use and abuse them and then leave them for days at a time just to really mess with them.
Kind of reminds me of when we did the Puppet Master. Like, he would leave.
Know.
I forget the victim's name, and I feel really bad. But he would leave her for days and then come back.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It
Sarah?
breaks people down.
Was it Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah. It was Sarah. Yeah, that's so fucked up. Go check that out on Patreon. We did 3 episodes on it, and he's awful. But
He is awful.
I can't, imagine doing this to people, but
I know.
I mean, he was a family man on the side, so he had to go back.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
At this point, police were only there to make sure that he didn't try and murder these women. They were willing, sort of, sexual relationships between adults at this point, and they couldn't intervene until these women were so beaten down that they went to the police and reported him for sexual assault themselves. Mm-hmm. And then they could do something about it. And that's exactly what happened. These women said that they only waited this long to report it because they were embarrassed about how they had met him.
Through the BDSM community. It's
Right.
really sad.
Right. They were embarrassed
if you
that
like a little kink,
that's what they're into.
Yeah.
That only became acceptable, I guess, like in the, 2015s, maybe?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. And even still, people will judge you for it. But it's like, it's wrong to think that because of your sexual preferences that you can't advocate for yourself.
Right.
While
all of this was going on, John had also convinced another 2 women from Tennessee to come out to Kansas. A mom with an 8-year-old child that she was planning to bring with her, and a 17-year-old girl.
That's underage.
Yep. Investigators had no doubt that he was capable of harming children if they got in the way, because at this point, they didn't know what happened to Tiffany. So they knew they had to make a move.
Oh my God.
8 officers showed up to John's farm in Kansas and confronted him about everything they knew. And
Take his mother down.
Went paler than a ghost, quote unquote. He couldn't lie his way out of this one. Yeah, no. He was charged with 2 counts of sexual assault for the women that had reported him, and theft, as he had stolen a bag of sex toys from one of these women worth $700. Those things are fucking expensive.
Yeah, no kink shaming.
Don't take it.
You do you. But don't take my shit.
Don't take that. During this arrest, they searched the home, because they had been invited in, because he's an idiot, and they found a blank piece of paper with Lisa Stassi's name on it, and a roadway inn receipt from 15 years ago.
Unbelievable. Well, serial killers like to keep trophies, right?
Yeah. And I'm sure he was cocky enough to think he'd never get caught.
Exactly.
They also found Debbie and Sheila Faith's social security papers. They found credit cards under the name Jim Turner and a checking account statement with John Robinson and a woman named Barbara on it. Fun fact, Barbara was his mistress of over 20 years.
I can't even believe that.
Yeah, somehow.
You have a full-ass family and a wife since 1964.
And a mistress. And you're murdering
just a casual
people.
Mistress, yeah.
Don't ever let a spouse say they don't have time for you when fucking people like John Robinson can have a whole ass family, a whole ass mistress, and still have time to murder women, okay?
Yeah.
If they love you, they will make time for you.
And the book also mentioned at one point that out shopping one day, Nancy had seen him and Barbara together, and he ignored her. So he's a piece of shit.
You know, those are the times when you don't divorce your husband for any reason, I suppose.
I guess I understand Nancy's I don't.
Just pretend it's not real. That's what she had to do. She had to pretend it wasn't real.
It sucks.
Yeah. Because of everything that the police had found this far, they were able to get a search warrant for the remaining 16 acres of farm and his storage locker. In the storage locker, they found all of Suzette's identification, nude photos of her, 42 pre-addressed envelopes to her mother, and blank sheets of paper with her signature. They also found Isabella Lewica's driver's license in there, nude photos of her, and some of her journals and paintings.
And as I mentioned in part 1, he liked to use these nude photos as a way for women to not go to authorities, right, whether or not they killed them. So
blackmail.
That was like, it's like, I'm going to seduce you, I'm going to take these photos, I'm going to take what I want from you, and then if you try and cross me or go to the authorities, I'm going to report it. And I'm going to show all of these photos. So,
yeah.
It's fucked.
On June 3rd, 2000, the search on his farm began. Cadaver dogs hit on a scent towards the back end of the farm, and investigators found, hidden away, a couple of oil drums.
No.
The bodies inside were disfigured and in some sort of solution. After sending them in for testing, they were found to be the bodies of Isabella Lewica and Suzette Troughton. We will spare all of our twisted humans further details here, and we will warn as well, there are crime scene photos, so be careful what you Google.
And I'm saying that as somebody that had to read 3 chapters on what they found.
Yeah.
Like, detailed chapters. And it doesn't feel right for us to include that, as victims of the family are still out there. You don't need to know what was in those oil drums. You just need to know who.
Right. Inside the home, they found bloody paper towels, blood on the walls in the bedroom, an impact stain from a blow to the head with a murder weapon that we later learn was a hammer, and bits of flesh and hair on the wall, which were tested and came back as Suzette's. Investigators started searching everything John owned, including the storage locker in Missouri where Beverly Bonner's furniture was being stored under the name Jim Turner. There, they found 3 more barrels with the bodies of Debbie and Sheila Faith and Beverly Bonner.
No!
John Robinson's case went into preliminary hearings in February 2001 for the murders of Isabella Lewica, Suzette Troughton, Beverly Bonner, Debbie and Sheila Faith, and on the suspected murders of Paula Godfrey, Lisa Stassi, and Catherine Clampett. It took the jury less than a day to find him guilty on all accounts. Kathy...
Surprise, surprise.
Right? Kathy, Lisa's sister-in-law, identified him in court as the man that picked up Lisa and Tiffany in the snowstorm the night they went missing. In 2002, he was finally given his sentence and was sentenced to death and remains on death row at El Dorado Correctional Facility in Kansas to this day at the age of 78. He had long given up on intimacy with his wife, and the relationships that he had built with other women, as well as his involvement in the BDSM community, thrilled him. And so in his mind, it made it so that he could be a better man to his wife and to his children.
So by mentally cheating on your
right
mistresses and your wife, you're a better person? Sure, sir. Whatever you want to tell yourself.
By all accounts, his wife and his mistress and his children loved him dearly, and even though Nancy was ready to divorce him at one point in their marriage, she did stand by him through all of this, and all of his incarcerations, his failed businesses, having to sell their home, move into a tiny apartment for his longest prison stint, and not to mention his constant infidelity.
This woman.
In her mind, they were crimes she could still rationalize and see her husband as the same man that she married. That is until the revelation of the murders came to light, and she divorced his ass in 2005 after 41 years of marriage. In July of 2020, the then 35-year-old Heather Tiffany Robinson, told her story, and I think it would be most appropriate to hear it in her words and to end the story on a somewhat happy note because she did find her own happiness.
Quote, "Dread stirred in the pit of my stomach, like I was walking down a dark alley in the middle of the night, and I could sense a predator hot on my heels. But age 15, I wasn't dashing down a back street. My smiling Uncle John was spinning me around on the dance floor at his son's wedding. Uncle John, my dad's favorite brother, a father of 4, a grandpa. He coached kids' sports games, taught Sunday school, and was a scout leader. But he gave me the creeps. Luckily, living 6 hours away, we hardly saw him. One night, soon after the wedding, I was sitting by the phone waiting for my friend to call. It was around 9 p.m., and Dad and Mum Frida's house rules were no calls this late. As soon as it rings, I'll pick it up, and no one will know, I thought. Whipping the receiver to my ear when it trilled, I found that my dad had already answered the phone upstairs and was talking to Uncle John's son-in-law. John's been arrested, he was saying. The cops believe that he may be connected to Heather's mother. Since I was little, I'd always known I was adopted as a baby. I loved my parents. But still, I'd always dreamed of one day finding my birth mom. Eavesdropping, I heard my uncle had been charged with the murder of 5 women whose beaten bodies had been found in barrels on his farm and in his storage locker. Police had also connected him to 4 other missing people, including a 19-year-old woman named Lisa Stassi and her 4-month-old daughter Tiffany, who disappeared in January of 1985. Now, the cops suspected that Lisa was my biological mother, and that baby was me. "Are you kidding? Is this some sort of prank?" Dad exclaimed. I could practically hear his brain ticking as he tried to process the horrific information. I didn't need any time at all. It made perfect sense. Why would I feel so repulsed every time I was near Uncle John if there was nothing to be afraid of? Upstairs, it was like John had lobbed a grenade into our home. Tears shone in my dad's stoic eyes, while Mom ran about searching for my adoption paperwork. "What did John do? How could he do this?" she cried. It was clear that my parents had no clue of John's crimes. "I don't want to lose you," my dad choked out to me tearfully. It turns out my parents had tried to conceive for 5 years, and were in the talks with several adoption agencies when my family members suggested that maybe John could help. A savvy businessman, they thought that they'd know lawyers who could organize a private adoption. Then, 18 months later, out of the blue, John called my parents saying that a young single mother had died via suicide and her infant daughter was up for adoption. "You need to come now," Uncle John had said. So my parents had gone to pick me up, paid the adoption fees to Uncle John, and signed the paperwork. A family snap was taken, showed a grinning Uncle John bouncing me on his knee. The following weeks went by in a blur. The police took samples of my DNA, plus fingerprints and footprints, to compare them to the hospital records of baby Tiffany. What if they take me away from my mom and dad? I panicked. When the results came back, there was no denying the truth. I was Tiffany Stassi. My adoption papers were meticulous forgeries that had duped my parents and everyone else. Media banged on our door at all hours. My friends cut all ties. Their parents too scared to be associated with my family. I started homeschool. Then, about a month later, my uncle was officially charged with murdering my birth mother. My loving parents prepared a statement. "Our deepest sympathies go out to the families victimized, but we too have been betrayed by this man." Rage boiled inside me that my dreams of one day finding my mom had been shattered. Within weeks, Lisa's mother, my biological grandma, Pat, wrote me a letter. She'd been on the news too. "If our granddaughter is safe and happy with these people, and they have nothing to do with Lisa's disappearance, they've taken care of this child. We don't want her to be taken away. We want her to know that we are her family too, and that we love her," she said to the camera. When we met, we clicked instantly. "You look so much like Lisa," Pat told me. I learned that after separating from my biological father, Lisa had fled to a women's shelter with me, and that's where she met John, who was posing as a philanthropist who'd started a program to help women down on their luck. a fake, he offered her a job, an apartment, and childcare. In the meantime, he put us up in a motel. On January 8th, 1985, Lisa had taken me to visit her sister-in-law, Kathy. The next day, John picked us up from Kathy's to go back to the motel, and my mother was never seen alive again. But soon after, her family began to receive typewritten letters supposedly from her. Although her body had never been recovered, authorities believed that John had bludgeoned her to death in the motel room, likely in front of me. It also came out that John had doctored my birth date. Instead of October 12th, 1984, I had actually been born more than a month earlier on September 3rd. At least I'd be 16 sooner, I thought. But when my birthday arrived, instead of celebrating my sweet 16, I locked myself away in my room and cried. At the age of 18, I was legally adopted by my parents, and as an adult, I was careful who I told about my past. When one boyfriend's mom found out, she gave me an ultimatum. If you don't leave my son, I will contact the press, she threatened. Devastated, I broke it off. A decade on, I befriended Roberto at the mall where we worked, and it was love at first sight for me. Texting, he shared that he wasn't feeling his best. If you're having a bad day, read this, I replied, sending him a link to my serial killer uncle's Wikipedia page. 15 minutes later, sweet Roberto showed up with comfort food and wrapped me in a hug. We started dating and married just a few months later, on Valentine's Day in 2013. I became a stepmom to his 2-year-old boy, and before long we gave him a brother.
That is the craziest fucking story. We are very happy that she gets her own happy ending and that her parents were able to keep raising her, but obviously it's very sad she doesn't get to close the chapter with her own mom. She is now the founder of an organization and a podcast called the Lisa Stassi Effect to help uncover the truth about her mother. And that, listeners, is the horrific story of John Edward Robinson.
Fuck him.
Yeah, fuck him.
Again, most of the information from our story came from Anyone Who Want Me to Be, A True Story of Sex and Death on the Internet by John Douglas, co-written by Stephen Singular, and that article is a That's Life article that will be linked in our notes. And Tiffany Stassi is truly remarkable in her positivity, but all she really wants to do is put her mother to rest. And obviously, in true serial killer piece of shit fashion, John Robinson isn't going to disclose where Lisa Stassi is, as well as Paula Godfrey and Catherine Clampett. So it kills me that serial killers do this, but it's very much a reality. And I mean, obviously, if we find any information or if any more information is released from that piece of shit, we will share it. But I really do hope that Tiffany is able to get closure for her mom.
Yeah, it's awful. Yeah, it's hard to say anything else about it. Like, she had to live through being related to the most awful person that could ever be in her life. The person who literally murdered her mother. But it's so funny,
because we always say trust your gut. Ever meet. And she was like, he gave me the creeps.
Creepy uncle.
Like, yeah. That's why I said, Sarah, hold on to those words. He is the creepy uncle.
Creepy uncle. Disgusting.
Yeah. And you guys know the drill. We start another round next week. And
yes, we do.
So hopefully Sarah can end it on a happy note as to what day this is.
Honestly, I was looking at it's not sad, but it's just like super fucking lame, I guess. It's May 24th when this comes out. And on this day in 1899, the first ever auto repair shop opened in Boston, Massachusetts. So,
yeah.
Both this episode and part 1 had facts about Massachusetts. So, yeah,
there you
interesting.
Go. But we'll see you next week for your regularly scheduled programming and a whole new round of categories. And in the meantime,
keep it twisted.
Thank you for listening to Twisted and Uncorked Podcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can also check out all of our sources and materials, as well as photos for the episode, on our website at twistedanduncorked.com. And you can follow us on social media at Twisted and Uncorked or Twisted_pod on Twitter. Thank you so much for all of your love and support, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode. Cheers!